today's discussion. We've got a CEO who will have obviously a perspective on what he expects to be a smart hospital to be. We have a medical director who leads the doctors, nurses, and the most crucial staff in a hospital. What is his perspective of what is a smart hospital? And in all this, there is obviously a security on top of it. So we've got expert from a leading cybersecurity firm who can convey his expectations also. So the way in which I want to do this session is we have given about 55 minutes for this session. So maybe we will start with 2-3 questions for each of the speakers. So we'll request the speakers to take about 2 or 3 minutes to convey their opinion on that. And then finally we'll have a closing remarks from each one of the speakers. And then we'll open the floor for Q&A, maybe about 15-20 minutes from the audience if they have any specific question. And finally, being a technology session, we thought it would be helpful for us all audience to see a real-time example of how a hospital, a leading hospital in Hyderabad, is using technology to manage patients. So that will be the surprise at the end. So I'll request you to wait for that. So first question, Mr. Subramaniam, being a CEO, sir, obviously you will have your expectations of how to run a hospital efficiently, better patient care, etc. So in your perspective, how do you define a smart hospital? Who are the major players for you in achieving a smart hospital, the vision of a smart hospital? Request your opinion, please.
Thank you. First, let me thank the organizers to arranging this beautiful conference and calling us for this session. Thank you so much. I'm really, really honored to be in this conference among my gurus and my mentors like Ratan Jalanji sir and Sri Harsha sir. I think, they are my gurus and mentors in this last 30-35 years, go-to person sort of, any problem. So thank you so much, sir, being so nice to us. If you ask me, I think this is a time very difficult to handle, before lunch. I can see that, the interest levels. So we'll see whatever the best we can do in 10-15 minutes and open for a Q&A. For me, what is a smart hospital? Your patient is very smart nowadays. So let's first start understanding that your patient is smart, and whatever you do to make that smartness of the hospital, what requires for the patient. In our journey, we do a lot of things what we feel is very smart, and the technology is smart technology, or you have a great systems and all this. But ultimately, what is very important is what your patient wants. So as long as you are a patient-centric, as long as you understand what your patient requires, that's the smart hospital in today's world. There's nothing called you have a super technology, so you become a very smart hospital. There is nothing called you have superstars, you become a smart hospital. What is smartness in understanding the journey is what your patient requires. And as long as you are patient-centric, I've been hearing the designs of the hospital design, and everything, it revolves around the patient. So as long as we know that we need to address that particular person, and we need to do everything possible to make sure that the ultimate outcome is important, and that goes for the patient, you're a smart hospital. So that's what I feel. And during that journey, we have innovated a lot of things. Innovation is very important. So because in today's world, the patient comes to you, before they enter into your hospital, they Google. So they have already a Google knowledge with them. 50% of time, they don't even listen to the doctor. They keep asking before they actually examine also. I'm sure you must be seeing this in your hospitals also. So that's the age. So we need to be careful on that when we talk about smartness, talk about the smart patient, and build that hospital in a smart way. So that's my perspective.
Thank you, sir. I think for people who are in the healthcare IT industry, must be aware that Apollo has created a benchmark as far as adoption of technology is concerned. Recently, they've achieved level 6 of the MRAM certification, which is nothing but an implementation of a full-fledged electronic medical record in all of their hospitals. I think congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as I told, everything we have innovated because there is a patient requirement, and there need to be that the outcome-based system. So whatever we have done, whatever we have achieved, I think it is the understanding of the requirement of a patient and build that model. 40 years ago, this is an innovation. When our chairman started the hospital, there was no private healthcare in India at that time. So that's a great innovation because that's the need of our Indians requires that sort of thing. So anytime you do any smart move, this is the best move. Understand what your patient requires and do that. Then you will be successful.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, Dr. Sudhir from KIMS Hospital. I know him personally very well. He's a clinical transformation champion as far as adoption of technology at KIMS Group is concerned. Sir, my question is, what is your definition as a regional medical director where you lead all your doctors, all your nurses? What is your definition of a smart hospital? And what all things we do to achieve that objective?
Thank you, Dr. Naresh. And thank you for the organizers for having me this afternoon. I'll give you a clinician's perspective of what I believe is a smart hospital. I like Mr. Subramaniam, I agree that patient is the center of everything, and any innovation that we do with keeping patient in mind is always the best way forward. I want all of us to understand one simple concept that I am wanting you to imagine at the back of your mind. For me, a smart hospital is a marriage. It's a marriage between clinical and non-clinical operations where technology is the enabler for it. That is where I see the smart hospital. And imagine 3 interjecting circles where they come together in the center. That center part which keeps all the 3 pieces together is the smart hospital, and that is where technology sits. So the 3 circles are essentially labeled by the patient, the doctor, and the operations. Now, by using technology, if we are able to bring all the 3 together, and increasingly we've seen the previous session, how COVID has transformed, how we've enabled technology, whether it is in terms of remote monitoring, whether it is in terms of teleconsultation, tele-ICU, so on and so forth. Eventually, because of the necessity and the patient centricity, we're actually bringing all this together. When we think about these 3 interjecting circles coming closer to each other and the overlap area increases with time, then you build the smart hospital. Just to give you an example, what does a doctor want? The clinicians want information to be available to them at the point of care for the patient. That means we want to have the results that are available to the patient, have a consultation, get the results in time to be able to make the decisions that are required for delivering the right care to the patient. What does the operations want? They want efficiency by using the best resources, whether it is in terms of managing supply chain, whether it is financial counseling, queue management, to enable the best service delivery for the patient. What does the patient want? The patient wants, I want to be at the center of the care that you're delivering. Now that is the enabler for me where I define a smart hospital. Once these 3 come together using technology, I think we have cracked it. And that is what we should try and do. And I take example from both my co-chairs on the stage today. As Mr. Subramaniam said, that it is the patient that should be center. As our security expert will say, we should be handling data very carefully. All this put together is what makes us a smart hospital. We don't have to differentiate. Actually, there is no difference between clinical and non-clinical operations. We work together, we enable it through technology, make the smart hospital. That's my simplistic way of looking at it. Perhaps I will take, as we go into the questions, you can ask us and you can give us your thought process of what you think we should be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think under your leadership, we look forward to do a lot of innovations at KIMS. See, being in the technology field, what I feel is that while every doctor, every nurse, every member of the administrative staff will have their expectations as far as technology is concerned. So most common example would be this: I need full access on my desktop system. I don't care about network security. I don't care about security policies, procedures. They all go out of the window if the superstar doctor comes and says, I need everything on my table on day one. But being in the technology field, we know the challenges which we will foresee if we enable full access to everybody in the hospital. From that perspective, it's good that Mr. Ishwar is here among us. He's from Palo Alto. Mr. I would like your opinion on, in the recent, whatever we have seen, whatever has happened in the healthcare system as far as cyber security is concerned. What, according to you, are primarily the vulnerabilities which a hospital will have?
So, thanks everybody. Thank you. Thanks everybody. So, it's been a privilege to sit with this distinguished dignitaries actually. So, what I feel is, as a security practitioner, data has been available everywhere. So earlier, if you have taken a test, generally you go to the clinic and take a hard copy. Nowadays, everything is available online. You just take you take your test and then it is available using an app, or you can download it using the internet actually. So this is the first thing. And second thing is, as when more and more data gets exposed to the internet, the attackers are prone to get exfiltrated into your network. So the second point. And third thing is, as per the survey, in 2022, India has suffered 1.9 million, cybersecurity attacks. The reason being in the AIIMS actually. So what these things infer us is actually, you have to put security controls. The CIOs should ensure that they take care of their network infrastructure, because the IT and OT, maybe 3-4 years earlier, they were separated. Now everything is connected. Now CT scan is connected to your network infrastructure, where you take a CT scan in one of the locations and you go to a doctor, and the doctor takes that data online, which means OT system, which is the CT scan, and the IT systems, which is your database, they are connected together. So which means you're exposed and you need to put in security controls. That is first thing. And second is, predominantly the devices that are being in OT, they are pretty older systems. And at the same time, patching. Say if it is an IT, we keep regularly updating the desktops or the servers. But you cannot do the same thing for OT, because the reason being, it should be available 24/7. So, there should not be any downtime, and there should not be any misinterpretation of the data. So we need to ensure that the availability of those OT systems, and at the same time we have to focus on how do we maintain the security posture. So vulnerabilities needs to be fixed, and visibility should be there for the CIOs. You have a visibility, like how the traffic is coming in, what has been exposed, which asset is exposed, all those informations. So predominantly what CIOs should look for is to put stringent controls, and then the vulnerabilities, though they are available, they should be, you cannot prevent every vulnerability, but you should have a visibility of what that vulnerability is. So that's my takes.
Thank you. A couple of observations from a fellow CIO. I think you look at their discharge summaries, etc. If you are giving an electronic medical record to a doctor, he or she will be able to see the visits of all patients across, right from the first visit till the latest visit. So there's a business need which you're trying to solve by implementing this technology. So what, at least in my experience, what I have done is, we have drawn a usage matrix for each application. For example, we implement a queue management system, we implement a mobile app, we implement whatever. So there's a success criteria usage matrix which we tried. And then month on month, we see where the usage is going up, going down, what are the challenges. If you have that matrix right, what I see is, we'll understand better where are the challenges on the ground. It may be technology might not be working. People might not be incentivized. People might not be interested to use it. So you will get that hardcore ground realities if you have a usage matrix allotted to it. That's what I've done in my experience, where every application has a usage matrix. We review that with the business, right? And one other thing which maybe a new incentive to the whole running of a hospital, but in each of the people's KRAs, what I've requested my management also is that some percentage has to be allotted for their usage of technology. Or else what is happening is we as in IT keep fighting that please use technology, please use technology. The adoption might not be 100%, right? So till that time there's an incentive for every employee in an organization saying that out of my 100% of KRAs, if 5 to 10% KRAs is on adoption of technology, then we see that the adoption would go up slowly or steadily. I think that's my thought on that. So let's go to the cybersecurity expert here again. In view of whatever incidents we have seen in the recent past, what do you suggest as a roadmap for an organization to be completely cyber secure? Is there a roadmap at all?
So first, actually, security is like a journey, actually. So when we say security, it comprises of people, process, and technology. So when we talk about people, like, you know, the team, though probably they might be not IT savvy, but we have to give them a basic education of how the data has been handled. Say, be it inside your premises or be it exposed to your external world, the team should be equipped to know that, okay, this is what the data is and this is where it is getting exposed. There should be a periodic curriculum, or in a simple way, not in a technology way, in a simple way to educate the team, like how you guys have a policy, right? Like the doctor's policy or the policy like that. At least in the IT rooms, there should be a policy which should be in place, or in the predominant places where you have a meeting rooms or something like that, where this is the data and please ensure that this data is safely secured. That's first thing. The second thing is the process, actually. So everything moves towards the process. So first, okay, like rightly you said, adoption. So there are some parameters which you would like to take care. Say you see, okay, these are all the, this is where I'm using my technology. And how do I ensure that I use the technology to the optimized way and in a secure way? So the security should be always aiding the business, or it should be aiding your operations. It should not put a hindrance. So we should ensure that we create a process in such a way that the team should know how to use that, how to create a methodologies to use those technology. The final thing is the technology. So when we talk about people, process, and technology, so now everything is connected. OT, IT, as I was saying, like vulnerability, visibility should be there. So you should have a unified mechanism, like the organization should evolve, organization should take care of unified way of managing IT, OT. And if there is any vulnerability or a zero-day attack, these technology should be robust in such a way that it identifies that zero-day vulnerability and it can safe and secure your hospitals. So predominantly it should be spread across your your hospitals or the enterprise. Say a threat which is identified at one location should get enriched and it should be made use in the other location. So which means like before the spread you prevent it. So that's the intelligence that we should deploy. So the CXOs or the CIOs like user, we urge you to take care of your technology. At the same time, focus on the people and process as well. So this is the one thing which we wanted to, recommend.
Great, thank you. So I think next steps is I would request all three speakers for their closing remarks, and then we might open the audience for a Q&A. We'll start with Mr. Subramanian, sir. Your closing remarks, please.
Closing remarks. First of all, let me appreciate what you said. The adoption should be a KRA based one also in organizations is a very, very great point. Appreciate it. I think that's the way forward for any adoption of new technology. Having said that, we have our own challenges because the hospitals, the technology doesn't end, adoption of, the paperless or, digitalization and all this doesn't end at non-medical. Lot of things happens through the medical. So most of the time, that's a great challenge, most of the hospitals, especially hospitals who are having lot of very senior doctors, for them, if you go and tell them, you start typing in the computer now, you're discharged. Sorry, it may not happen. And this is, I'm not saying, I'm sure there in any hospital, that's the greatest challenge which any hospital faces. So, your front office people will do a lot of adaptation. Your, at the most you can force your nurse to make sure that, she writes her notes in the computer. But, it's not easy to make your doctors to do this. So that requires a lot of, but I'm seeing that new generation is able to adopt that very well. But you always have this challenge with the older generation. The older generation, like even including me, my technology ends at, using WhatsApp. They give us a lot of these smartphones because we are CEOs. So any latest phone. So I don't know anything in that phone except that I call that and, I have better photos. I can take it from this phone. Great technology. So that's wonderful. My closing remarks is, anything we do, start innovating. Innovation comes from what your customer wants. Innovate whatever you innovate in your hospitals, companies, wherever you innovate, whatever. Be relevant of what you want to innovate. Don't innovate something, because somebody else is doing, so I can also do it. That's no innovation. The innovation should be relevant. The innovation should be on ground. The innovation should be something, your customer actually appreciate. And the innovation, your employee should also be able to, it shouldn't become a burden for them. You do a lot of things and, at the end of the day, instead of spending their time on bedside, they keep writing, these things and you're losing that. So please innovate a product. Please do something which is relevant. Please make sure the end user is able to appreciate what he's doing. The end user is able to feel that value addition is life. That's called the greatest innovation. So my closing remark is be relevant, be updated, try to push and motivate the older generation to use your more technology and, don't leave your younger generations not to use technology. These are two things very important. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sudhir, sir,
sentiments that you have shown and expressed. See, what is our biggest asset? Our biggest asset is our time. And when I want to innovate, when I want to make some things relevant for my patient, I ask the same question that I asked on day one when we started doing this. Am I going to replace somebody's handwriting skills with technology, or am I actually making it easier for them, enabling it to do better? Because then that clinician, that nurse spends more time with the patient. Because that time that we spend with the patient, that time that we save by using technology is our biggest asset. So ask a question tomorrow when you go back to your own units. Are we making that change for our patients, for our staff, for our leaders, for ourselves? When you answer that question is yes, then you have used the right technology. Then you have used the right methodology. Then you implemented the right process in your place. Now, that is what helped me deliver. The second biggest thing, which I agree with Mr. Subramaniam, is also that involve the people who are the end users in giving you the feedback for delivering a system. I completely agree with that. Whatever we've built today is designed, implemented, shaped, reshaped, iterated by the clinicians, by the patients, by the end user. I go to the end user first. I ask him, what is your issue? You live through the journey of a patient, you will understand what they will go through. Whether it is feedback, whether it is queue management, whether it is giving a clinician an EMR to ask them to write. Just one example, I will take only 30 seconds. We went to clinicians, he said, sir, we've got a fantastic product that you can actually understand how many patients came to see you, what has happened to them, what their diagnosis is. And the clinician said, I want to write. I said, why would I want to type? I want to write. And I said, okay, let me understand. So we went back to the drawing board. We created a sketch for them so that they can write on their iPad. And then they said, okay, this is not enough. I am on the run. I want to talk. So we enabled speech to text. And we put all the three together. Those who wanted to do typing, they have an option. Those who wanted to draw, write, they have an option. Those who wanted to use speech to text, we took it to the next level. That is us trying to maximize the time that the clinician has, so that they spend that valuable time with the patient. That would be the way I see forward. That's my way of looking at it.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure under your leadership, I think the transformation would be really good at KIMS. So, Mr. Ishwar, I think your closing remarks, please.
Yeah, so the most important thing along with the time is also data. So data is also important. So what we urge is actually technology is created for the people and it is to the people. So when we are creating technologies and innovations, we should ensure that our data is kept safe. And as everybody moving towards digitization, everybody should take care of like how you take care of the personal hygiene. Please take care of your cyber hygiene as well. So that is one thing which is very important because everything is connected. So even one data which is getting leaked, obviously you have everything exposed to the internet. So like technology is a boon, but at the same time it should be properly utilized. So as we move towards that Surakshit Bharat, everything, Ayushman Bharat, so it's also a cyber Surakshit Bharat also should come up, where we keep our data, we keep everything intact actually. So that's my final closing comments. So as we can keep everything ready, we can keep safe and secure. Hospitals and CIOs like you, dynamic CIOs like you, they can put strict controls, but end of the day, self-discipline also matters. So we need to ensure that personal security, hygiene is taken care. So that's the closing comment which I would like to post.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to all the speakers. I think we can open the floor for questions. My request is people who want to ask questions, please stand up, please introduce yourselves and you can pose your question. And whom do you want to ask?
Should be adaptable to whatever systems we have in existence. Say, for example, I have a linear accelerator. Simulator machine should be adaptable for that one. Or if I buy a new machine, that old machine should have the adaptability to do the rest of the things like upgradation or whatever. Unless until we do those things, this buying everything together would be a big challenge. And whenever they buy, if we should see that this adaptability should be inbuilt in that machine or whatever, so that we need not buy everything new again.
When we were implementing technology, trying to connect various systems, was that each of them or some of them had their own patents. So you can't easily take data from one and put it into others. The second challenge we had was, is there technology out there that will help us integrate all this? The short answer is yes. Now, it comes at a cost. Now, not necessarily everyone can afford the cost. So, I'll give you one simplest example. So, we were battling a question of the nurse was spending a lot of time taking observations for a patient. So, we went to the vendors in the market, asked them to give us some kits, where we did a pilot of trying to integrate that to the EHR that we designed, so that I simply put the BP cuff, the examining meter, the pulse oximeter and the temperature on the patient. It should automatically flow through to my EHR. I was promised yes. It took only 9 months to be able to do that. So the challenge is finding the right technology is one hand, being able to integrate two is a bigger challenge. For these two reasons, that because each of them have developed over a period of time, the source codes, the technology that is being used to develop has also changed. But what we have increasingly seen since COVID is that a lot of integration, a lot of experts who are coming with integration, new startups who are coming up, they are breaking this rule. And I told one guy who we were working with at the time, I need this to be integrated. He said, why do you want to integrate? I will create a robotic eye. It will look at it and it will read the data and give you. That solved everything. So challenge, pose the right question, you will get the right answer. And the cost for that, building the robotic eye, was $20 compared to some close to $6,000 at the equipment that I purchased to be able to integrate the same. So there is technology, there is innovation, there is talent available out there. We have to ask the right question, ask them to come forward, enable them. With the time, I think your vision will come true. We will be able to do it.
But also, adding to this, the technology is constantly changing also. Say, we were doing laparoscopic surgeries, lap sets. But today, you have a robotic surgery. So when you have robotic surgery, you can't integrate a laparoscope set with a robotic. So I completely agree with you that to curtail the cost, we need to have this adoption and, we'll be able to upgrade our things. But a lot of new technology which is coming today, probably, that's a challenge which everybody is facing because it's constantly changing. Every day there is a change in the whole thing. CT scans, which we were working, with 16 slice, now today it is 660 slice. But it has a role. You have to invest. A PET CT scan or a proton, which we are doing in the radiation, that's we spend almost 1,500 crores to have a proton center. Will that be able, whether we'll be able to do the same thing with a linear accelerator? No, we'll not be able to. So technology is changing every day, so we have to add these things. That's another challenge.
So my name is Dr. Suresh Gaud. I'm representing Woodlands Hospital. I have one question as far as smart hospitals are concerned. Everyone is talking about technology. But here, as we upgrade our technology, the cost is increasing. So now today the main issue is the patient wants an affordable health care. He wants value for his money. So that is why smaller hospitals are surviving, mid-sized hospitals are surviving, but the patients are losing out because technology, they are not able to reach out to the technology because of the cost. So how affordable the technology can be made accessible to these mid-sized hospitals and smaller hospitals if possible also? That's my question.
Well, that's our day. Sir, anybody else?
Only one thing, doctor, I'm sure you are talking about your own experience. To me, I think technology, if we use it smartly, it will reduce the cost also. We should know where this technology to be used and what sort of segmentation you want to play around. See, we can't play in everything. So as you very rightly said, the smaller hospital, mid-sized hospital, the bigger hospital. So technology will ultimately, if we use it smartly, will reduce the cost also. So probably we'll have a discussion offline, but it's a big subject. But I'm just giving you a way forward that yes, it can reduce also. Doctor, you want to?
Again, a very pertinent question, sir. Just to go back to the example I gave you, the same startup that helped us come up with this revolution of creating the robotic eye actually are working with an NGO in Andhra, delivering the care in the remotest of the areas at a cost which is a fraction of what it would have allowed the larger hospitals or the bigger units to be able to use it. Your question is actually more pertinent to the industry as such because you're throwing a challenge at them to answer the question, what is it that the industry is going to do? And there are many answers out there. Now, the example I've given is one among many. I would also challenge you with another question, if I may. Actually, technology is not costly. If you look at how Aadhaar has transformed our registration details, the unified way we're all registered to Aadhaar, that is an example in itself in all the Harvard universities today. in all technology industries. Aadhaar is an example. So it's only a matter of time. Watch that space. There are so many new innovators coming in, the new startups coming in, which will make the technology affordable for us to use it for the patients. As I said, it's finding the right place at the right time, throwing it out. And collaboration is the other word that I would want to use, especially with ABBA. What has ABBA created? ABBA has created a unified platform for all of us to share information with patients' consent. So I don't see why that collaboration cannot extend between larger and smaller units, larger and smaller clinics. That way we work towards, because now we are working in silos. Once we take out that silos out and we work as one team to benefit the patient, that collaboration will automatically come forward. That's the way I would. And I think if I'm right, Narayan Hrudayalaya is one unit which has gone one step ahead in actually sourcing it to the clinicians for free in the remote districts. So it's not impossible. It is possible. Part of the problem and the solution is us. If we can remove those barriers, I think we can do much better.
Sorry, I think we don't have time for Q&A. I know we have lunch outside, so we can always meet them and have your questions answered. Yeah. Sorry, we don't have time. Okay, we've given 1 hour, so I think we crossed. So as promised at the beginning of the session, I think there is a 5-minute which I want to show. Here's a real-time use of technology from Dr. Subir. We have made a small 5-minute session, meeting. So the idea is that because we are using technology, we want to show in real time how a medical director sitting here is able to monitor his hospital, monitor his patients, and how patients are doing. Just 5 minutes.
I have a disclaimer. I am very sorry they bulldozed me into doing this. I'll explain to you. So I was driving home one evening and Dr. Naresh was our then CIO. And we were having a chat to answer the same question. What is it that we can do for our doctors? This was 6th of June, 2021. Yeah. And we were thrown a challenge by our CEO that can you do something for the Doctors' Day? So we put together an app that was botched up to just show them the laboratory results. And that had about 100 iterations. So I'll just give you a glimpse of what we do to help our clinicians. Last Doctors' Day on 1st of July 2022, we made it live for all 13 units in KIMS. So forgive me because there is some confidential patient data. So I'll have to skip through a few things. I'll only show you from snippets of what it will look like. Just give me 1 second.
Cheers.
So this is what we put together for our clinicians. I think I'm in the way. I'll probably stand aside.
I use this shot.
So you can see that I am no longer having any inpatients. I was a gastroenterologist. Now I am a medical director. So sitting here today, I can see what happens in all my units as to how many patients are there. What is happening in, let's say, in Nagpur, which is the latest addition to KIMS, how many patients are there, how many discharges has been raised, what is the status of the hospital, what is the status of each discharge. So if you break it down into smaller chunks, whether it is in the stage of the discharge summary being created, whether it's in the stage of the nursing doing the returns, whether it is the stage of the patient waiting to pay their bill. While we answered the question for clinicians using this, I just also want to give you a snippet of how is it that we have enabled to allow our clinicians to make the decision that they are requiring at the fingertips. I'll just type a patient's name, and then for ease, I'll show you what. Of course, this patient is going home. Now, what would a doctor want? The doctor wants to know what has happened with the patient. This is their input-output chart. This is what has happened to the patient live today as I speak here. This is also, we also want to understand in what way, whether the patient is having their investigations reports in time. This patient that I am showing you now was an inpatient to me. This has enabled the clinician to actually make the decision that the results are ready at the click of a button, sitting from home, they can raise a discharge, see what has happened to this patient, what nursing care has happened to the patient, what medication has been delivered, what their laboratory investigations this morning was, whether it will allow him to make the decision for discharge, can they go home, including an electronic prescribing with administration. This is the state of the art that we have created in-house. Just a few people sitting together in a room, helping with the developers, answering your question as to how adaptable it is to get everybody into there. I think there was another question from you. How is it that smaller units can adapt to it? This is not something impossible to do for any of us. This is something that we have enabled. Now, the question that we asked ourselves, what is it I can do for the clinician? What is it that I can do for the patient? What is it that I can do for my non-clinical operations team to be able to bring this together in one platform? And that is the integration. That is the integration of data you're talking about. That is the breakup that technology can give you, because we were able to reduce the length of stay for a patient from 3.4 days to 2.9 days. I'm able to let a patient go home who has got an insurance in less than 6 hours, including the time of approval from the insurance, or a cash patient to go home within 2 hours. We all want to do this. We all want to do this because I'm not saying that we have achieved this. It's a team effort. It's not easy. It's taken me 18 months to get here. And the first botched up Doctors app that we went live on the July 2021 was nowhere near to what this is. Just as clinicians that we understand the patient, just as clinicians we want to keep ourselves up to date, technology will also evolve. Technology should help us deliver that better care. That is what helps us creating or designing a product. Now, the person who is designing this product is a group of 8 developers sitting remotely. We meet twice a day, we iterate, we talk to each other. They have no clue what initial assessment means. In their language, they will talk about shortcuts. Shortcut doesn't mean cutting it short, but actually mean an icon sitting in a different place for us to get to there. For me, shortcut means something else. I say I am not going to use any shortcuts. So it is where the technology people and the clinicians and the operations and the leadership come together. You can create what I've just shown you as a snippet. I would want to end this here in the interest of the time that actually I'm standing, as my previous speaker said, between you and lunch. So any other questions, if I would be glad to take at lunch and perhaps extend this conversation. I do wish all of you that when you go back to your respective units, please think about different ways in which you will be able to enable that patient, that clinician, that operations personnel, and ask them all the same question: is what I am doing today going to help you do your job better? And you will have your answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much.